I want to talk about adapting to life as a husband, living with, or keep doing it, with motor neurone disease, tagging along for the ride and living with me. And if this is the first time you're watching one of these videos, my name's James. I'm a 40-year-old married dad with 3 young children, and I was diagnosed with motor neurone disease in June 2021. And like I said on this video, I want to talk about how my life and me and my wife's life has changed in the last 5 years, shall we say, since motor neurone disease was thrusted into our lives. Now, if you saw my previous video, I touched on being a husband, and it was more in line with how I was adapting to be a dad, but I wanted to do a separate video on how I feel like being a husband has changed for sometimes the better and sometimes the worse, having this condition, motor neurone disease. And I want to start off by giving you a bit of a brief history of me and my wife's relationship. We started dating, I'd just turned 19 and I'm 41 nearly, and my wife had just turned 18, and we went from being friends for a couple of years beforehand to dating, and we've never looked back. So how many years is that? 21 years? I think so. My maths is rubbish. So yeah, she's not only, this is going to sound really soppy, but it's true, she's not only my best friend, but my wife as well, and I'm very lucky to be able to call her that. We've had one mad life. We started, life by moving out together, renting a little house. We then moved up and got a slightly bigger house. And then Carly's mum got remarried. And one of the people that were invited was a long lost friend, I suppose you call her, who come over from Republic of Ireland. And we got chatting to her, and Ireland sounded an amazing country to experience in comparison to where we were in the UK. Very similar to how I'm feeling right now about the UK, but I might try and touch on that later. So we were, I suppose, working to live. We were paying extortionate amount of rent back in the day. I think we were paying like £700 a month for a little 2-bed house. I mean, now that would be ridiculous money, like £1,500, £1,200 down here in Dorset. And we weren't really earning enough money to have a decent life. And this was before children, way before being engaged, which I'll get to in a minute. So we decided, after speaking to this long lost friend that came over from Ireland, that we were going to give living in Ireland a go. My wife got offered a job straight away to work in a construction firm. I was working in Carphone Warehouse at the time as a sales consultant, or was it an assistant manager, I think. And we decided, do you know what? Let's give it a go. We've got nothing to lose. And we moved over. My mum and dad helped us move over. They drove the 2 days that it took to go there and back and drop our stuff off, go over the ridiculous ferry over the Irish Sea, which I wouldn't want to put on anyone. And we found ourselves in a really nice apartment, going from paying £700 odd a month on rent, council tax, water rates, electric, gas, everything that you would pay here in the UK, to living in an apartment where we were just paying basically rent and I think it was electric and gas. Council tax and water rates didn't exist in Ireland at the time, which was when around about 2007, 2008, and we were living like kings. I managed to get a job in a call centre which was called Chorus, and they were used to sell products like NTL, cable network, telephone, internet, things like that. And I was sat on a call centre, not doing the job that I really wanted to do, and selling things like that. Hello. Morning, alright? Yeah, alright. So, I was selling the likes of TV packages, telephone connections, internet connections, basically what you would call Virgin Media now. And I worked there for a couple of years while we were there, and we were living like absolute kings. The Emerald Isle, I think they call it, was flourishing. They had loads of money being pumped in from Europe, and yeah, we had very little bills and a lot more money. And then the recession come along, and we found ourselves in a situation where we could no longer work. Businesses were going out of business, companies weren't employing, and I found it very difficult to find another job. Me and my wife decided, you know what, we're going to come back. We're going to come back from Ireland. But in that period of time, I'd proposed to my wife, and we did that in London about 3 years beforehand. So just before we decided to move to Ireland, I was still working at Carphone Warehouse, and we had been together for 3 years, and I couldn't see myself being with anyone else. So I bought an engagement ring, saved up all my commission that I earned from selling Talk and contract phones and SIM cards and accessories, bought a engagement ring. We then had a day out to London, and I proposed outside the London Eye, to which then Carly said, "Are you joking?" I was like, "No, do you want to get married?" And she said yes. And then we then moved to Ireland, and 3 years later we decided we were going to come back. But in that time we then got married, and we organised it and got married back in the UK. So we got married in a place called Highcliffe Castle, and then, like I said in my video prior to this one, we then had our honeymoon in Bali. And so we've had a bit of a wild life. If we want to try something, we'll try it. We've tried numerous amounts of businesses to try and be self-sufficient, and this one business we tried, it was something that could have worked, but it didn't work with the I don't know, it didn't really work, but it could have worked. I'll explain. So we basically bought an old minibus and converted it into a mobile convenience shop. So think of an old-fashioned newsagent and sandwich van blended into two, or one. And we went around industrial estates. People could step on board, and I built a load of shelving and made it into like a little display case where you could have chocolate bars and crisps and pre-packed sandwiches, pick and mix sweets, and it was fun, and we could see it working, but we couldn't see it working. It was the wrong vehicle, it was costing us a lot in fuel, and it wasn't sustainable for us. And we managed to sell it as a whole business to a chap in Cornwall who was trying to help the locals get products, or get their newspapers, that the people that couldn't get out. So I'm glad it went off to someone that was able to use it. So we've had a wild life, in our opinion, and then it got down to the nitty gritty of, right, we've lived in another country, we've now both got, solid jobs. I went into the motor trade as a car salesman, and we said to ourselves, we're married now, shall we try and start a family? But that wasn't something that was easily done for us. We all in all, we tried to start a family, and took around 6 years before we finally fell pregnant. And in those 6 years we started IVF, and where we were living in Dorset, the NHS, you had to have some sort of criteria to allow yourself to get an IVF on the NHS, and we were waiting for that to change. And I remember sitting in a waiting room in a hospital somewhere, I can't remember what it was for now, and we saw an article on a magazine in the waiting room. This wasn't for IVF, by the way, this is something else, and it said that Dorset had now changed the criteria. You can now get 2 fresh and 2 frozen cycles of IVF on the NHS, and we were like straight on the phone to sign up, and we started the whole process, which is horrific. I think it's the end goal of IVF is amazing. You're going to have a child that you get to love and care for the rest of your life. But the whole process of IVF for my wife was, I wouldn't wish it on anyone, really, in the nicest possible way. You had to inject hormones into yourself for a number of weeks, and then you had to get, if you want to know what IVF and the process is, just have a look online. I'm not going to tell you what it's about, but yeah, I didn't enjoy that process for my wife. I secretly think my wife didn't enjoy it either. Anyway, so we managed to get a good amount of embryos, fertilised embryos, and unfortunately, long story short, the IVF didn't work, and at that time my wife was looking at alternative sort of medicine, more on the lines of Eastern medicine, to be more specific, Chinese acupuncture. And it turned out that one time she went to the acupuncturist and she said, I can't do any acupuncture on you today, I think you might be pregnant. And this was after a failed IVF attempt, and if anyone else has gone through IVF, you have to wait a couple of weeks before you can go again, or is it a couple of months? It might have changed, it's been over 10 years, so it might have changed, but back then I think it was you had to wait a couple of weeks to then try another fresh round of IVF before we then go on to frozen if that one didn't work. And in those 2 weeks from when the first IVF implant, I suppose, failed, to when my wife went back to the acupuncturist, we fell pregnant somehow. Well, we all know how, but I think it just knocked something into gear, wherever the drugs were. It knocked something in and reset the body and made us be able to have a baby. And 9 months later, my eldest arrived, and then just like buses, 2 more arrive after that. So roll on to today. I'm diagnosed with motor neuron disease. Me and my wife have had a really an amazing life, and long may it continue. We've got 3 beautiful children. We are lucky that we own our own house. We've managed to, well, not own, but we've got a mortgage, I suppose. And at the time, before my diagnosis, we were in a really great place where my wife was working from home, as she still does now, self-employed, doing her sweetie business. And I'll put a link in the description of this video if anyone wants any sweet gifts, pick a mix based, chocolate based. And I had retrained to become a barber. Oh, I need to sit down. Whew. Morning, you right? Oh, I'm getting some weird looks with this thing strapped around me. I'll show you what it looks like after the video. So yeah, we were in a great place, and I finally found a job that I really enjoyed, and I retrained to be a barber. I loved every minute of it, and I'll talk about work and things like that on a separate video. And along came motor neuron disease, which threw a massive spanner in the works. And I'm now technically, I suppose, a stay-at-home dad. But I find myself sometimes becoming a hindrance as a husband. Every month, every day, more like every year, something else comes along that I could no longer do, and I have to ask my wife to help me. And you can sometimes see the frustration in her face because she's just got the kids ready for bed, or she's just got the kids to school, or all she wants to do is just sit down and doom scroll, which is fair enough. And there's me going, oh, do you know what? I need help pulling my shorts or trousers up because I need the toilet. And it's just, I feel like it can become a lot tougher for the person that's caring for you as a partner as this condition takes hold. But my wife's a tough cookie. She gets on with it, and we try and just carry on as normal as we can do while adapting to this condition as it progresses. And I've had to adapt to that way of life because, I'd love to be able to, how can I say it nicely without sounding derogative? I'd love to do a little cheeky slap on my wife's bum because she's got a lovely bum, and I could no longer do that. I want to give her a nice big hug, but I can't put my arms around her. And the affectionate side of the relationship has sort of taken a back step because of motor neuron disease and my physical ability. And the other extra bits that my wife is now having to do makes her more tired, and with 3 children that want her undivided attention, it means that I'm taking a bit of a back step on being a husband, and it's that I'm having to adapt to be able to do. And I suppose I'm trying to utilise videos like this to share those experiences. And it's just one of those things. We just have to work out what works for us as a family. But doing holidays like going to Bali for a month, which is something that we've wanted to do for a long, long time since our honeymoon, was a really nice reset for the whole family, and it was something that I wish I could have stayed longer. It was an amazing holiday, and if I can recommend Bali enough to anyone, yeah, go. It's an amazing place, and you'll have a great time. But I'll do a video on that another time. And yeah, so I suppose, bottom line, I've had to adapt to become a husband again, living with this condition. I keep saying it with motor neuron disease, living with me, but you get the gist. Oh, let's try and walk back. Oh, I'm tired now. And yeah, it is a difficult situation that I find myself in. And I don't think me and my wife know what to do, but we're just living life. We're in a good position. We've got a roof over our heads. We've got 3 lovely kids that keep MND out of our minds 90% of the time. They keep us very busy. And yeah, we're still happy. And it's hard not to think too much into the future with what MND will become. And I see friends and people online that have got motor neuron disease and experience progression a lot quicker than I have. And I see them in wheelchairs, unfortunately ventilators, and pegs. And it's hard not to, oh my God, that stinks. Oh, I hope I haven't trodden anything. God, that smelled like one massive dog. Ugh. yeah, I find myself almost dreading what the future will hold, but also find myself very lucky and fortunate that I am in a position, sorry about that I can still do things like these videos that can hopefully make a difference to someone watching or listening and spread awareness for the condition. Because even though recently we've got Lewis Mooney, Lewis, the ex-rugby player, and has a connection with Bournemouth Sevens, which is where I live, has recently been diagnosed with motor neurone disease, and it's high-profile people like that that we need to help keep the awareness being raised. And Lewis, if you're watching, which is very unlikely, but if you do watch, hats off to you, and I wish you all the luck in the world with this condition. And I know you probably don't need to or might not want to, but if you ever need a chat, if you ever need to vent, and if you're ever down in Bournemouth, please feel free to reach out. I'm more than happy to have a chat. And yeah, I think I'll end that video there, and I'll see you on the next one, I hope. Have a good day. So this is my new toy to allow me to still record videos hands-free. It may look silly and I may get some very strange looks when I'm out and about, but it basically attaches my camera and my selfie stick to my waist, allowing me to be completely hands-free. If you're interested in this, I'll put a link in the description, but yeah, it does the job for now. Is it long term? No, but it saves my arms when I'm out making these videos.